Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and
frequency for the geekwency
behind it. We talk comics, movies, TV, and pop culture, and with the Rogues who created every Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts. Download it. Immediately follow the live stream on all major podcasting apps. Go to RogueWavePodcast.com to subscribe. That's Rogue Wave without an E at the end of wave. Podcast.com. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Join the movement. Go Rogue, RogueMatter.com. I am your host, Michael Dolce, as always, joined by my co-host extraordinaire, the Lord of the Radio, Mr. Hassan Godwin. How you doing, sir?
Heidi ho.
Heidi ho.
Heidi ho. What? No.
Good.
Bad. Heidi ho bad.
Oh, I just, it's not as enthusiastic as a Heidi ho should be, I think. I feel like Heidi ho should be.
You're lucky you got a Heidi ho, man.
You had big news. You had big news.
What's up, dickhead?
Talk about
You want me to do that, right? Yeah. What's going on, dickhead?
There you go. Wow. We'll change everything on this show. Change everything. For the better.
What was the big news that I had? Do you remind me what the big news I had was?
You finished your second novel
I finished my second novel. It's actually not my second novel. It's probably my fourth. Okay. But the first two are bad. So it's the second good novel that I've done.
So when we're out here,
it's the second novel that I think is good.
Okay. So when we're out here talking comics, movies, TV, and pop culture, we are also we're not just what is it? We're not just we're also clients.
We're not.
We're not the old tagline.
I'm not just the spokesperson. I'm also a client. I think.
That's
right for the hair club. Club for men.
And you got a gray hair on your beard. But
I'm not just the owner.
I never did before.
I wish it was a piece of lint because it would have been better than it being gray.
Dude, the pandemic wears us all down. I'm telling you, I never had gray hair before. I never had any grays, and now I've got it lining up my beard a little.
Well, that usually that's kind of the way it works, right? You don't have them until you do, and then you have them all the time.
I feel like I have them a little bit quicker than I would have liked. I'm gonna have to just ferment that. All right, people didn't come here to discuss our gray hair woes. They came here because we are talking all the fun stuff, and we've got some WandaVision to talk. The director is worried that the season finale, which we will talk about, we will talk in preparation for, is going to be a disappointment no matter what because of fan theories. I know you have a great opinion on that. We've got a great guest. We've got Jordan Gelber, who is the host of the brand new Rogue Matter podcast, Content and Consequences, which we're going to launch this Sunday night. So right here on the Facebook channel. Again, if you're here on the Facebook channel, you'll get a notification. We're starting to do all kinds of cool things. We got the Button Smash guys. We'll be putting their videos up there as well, too, pretty soon. Really kind of being very cohesive in terms of being a unit. Hollow Mark, the prologue, is on the website right now. That is something that just wanted to quickly blurb about it. It's a transmedia continuation of Making Markham. It's a series of short stories, so we'll have chapters being released over the next couple weeks, talking about Making Markham is the prologue to Markham, and Hollow Mark is the assassin itself, told in short story format. So you can go to roguematter.com. It's free. It's up there on the website right now. Everything on roguematter.com, all the comics that are up there, all the content is totally free. But first, we are going to start with this little ditty, which I found over the weekend, which I thought was kind of interesting. Zack Snyder's Justice League will end with massive cliffhanger. However, there's no plans for a sequel. We are only a few more weeks away from finally seeing Zack Snyder's 4-hour black and white.
Zack Snyder. You said Zack Snyder. That's funny. You said Zack Snyder just now, which is really funny because you're always giving me S for how I pronounce his name. And now you don't even... Snyder's not even a name.
I will go back to the videotape on this one, and I will see if I truly heard Zack Snyder or Zack Snyder, or if you just want me to... You want to hear me.
You said Zack Snyder, baby.
Right, well,
everybody heard it. Everybody heard it.
Everybody
in the comments heard it.
True Vision for his. Well, everyone in the comments just likes you better anyway, so they're gonna say they're gonna support you regardless.
No, they
kind of
don't.
like being the Andy Kaufman of this.
Nobody likes me.
Of this duo. They all love you. They feel bad for you somehow. I don't know why. I can't.
No, it's pity. Pity is not affection.
That's true, actually.
That's not something you aspire to.
Yes, no, I agree with that. Actually, they definitely feel pity for you, but either way.
Wow.
Well, I'm just, I guess being co-host.
I'm done with that conversation.
I don't know.
They feel pity because I'm your co-host.
I don't know. Who knows? But anyway,
let's get off that subject.
It hurt me. I mean, it hurts me every day. I lose sleep. Many expect Justice League to be the end of Snyder's time at DC with Warner Brothers, with executives describing the film as a storytelling cul-de-sac. Some DC fans have also thought the Justice League's lengthy runtime meant Snyder was incorporating elements of his planned trilogy into it. This will not be the case, but the long-awaited director's cut will feature hints at what could have been and a major cliffhanger. This is Zack Snyder talking. It was meant to be more than two movies, or two more movies, I should say. It hints as you would at a potential other world. I'd plant the seed as I had wanted to of what would have come in later films. That's in there. But as far as those stories that would be to come, if that ever happened, which it does not look like it would, I think it's easy to speculate based on that. And we could talk about that for quite a while. It's a cliffhanger. The movie ends in a massive cliffhanger. Yeah. All right.
It's BS. All of it's BS. Because look, if the Snyder cut drops and everybody loves it, they'll make more.
What? So this was.
If it doesn't, they're girding themselves for if it just comes out and if there's like a kind of tepid response to it, or if it comes out and becomes a disaster, like Wonder Woman. Even though I'm not saying that Wonder Woman was a disaster, but it was a disappointment. That's easy. That's not controversial to say, right? So if the Snyder cut comes out and it's a disappointment, then they'll be like, yeah, well, this was a one-time thing. We weren't meant to go anywhere. And we've said it several times. Yeah. We've made it very clear several times that we really weren't meaning for this to become anything. And if it comes out and it's a hit, it's like, you know what? The amazing response to that has given us, license to continue with our intended, plan. Our original intended plan was to, fulfill the Snyder cut. And, that's why you're not hearing a lot of, DCEU news lately, right? They're all trying to see who's going to own the soul of the DCEU,
right?
Is Zack Snyder still going to have is he still going to have a solid piece of it, or are they honestly going to divvy it up as they have been hinting that they may do? So we will see. That's the only thing we can say is we will see.
What this is what I was wondering though. What would define it as like a success to the point where they would say, "Oh, we've always intended to make more Zack Snyder stuff." Like, would it be critical acclaim? Would there be?
It would be audience reaction. It would be social media interaction with it.
Yeah,
the metric that everybody says is a BS metric for success would be the metric that they would use to determine whether or not this was a success. So it would be like if it trends for a long time on Twitter, if most of the feedback was positive, if people start clamoring for a sequel, then it'll be considered a success. Because we're not gonna, even if they told us what what revenue they recoup from the project in and of itself, we couldn't necessarily believe that they were being honest about those numbers, right? Just the same as ratings, right? That's the great boondoggle of streaming. It's that it skews the numbers so much that anybody can claim anything as a hit or a failure, right?
Yeah.
So, and they're not going to want to let go of that, that get out of jail free card, right? They're not going to want to alter that and have more transparency. Nobody ever goes for more transparency if they don't have to. So we're not going to know about what serious financial success the Snyder cut or the Snyder cut is. But
the Zack Whedon cut?
Yeah, the Zack Whedon. But if if it is substantially trending, if there's a substantial
it's got to be
media.
positive trending, and it's got to equal. I mean,
Yeah, but that's what I mean.
Right? Like subscribers, like would there be more subscribers to HBO Max based off of the Snyder Cut? Like, I wonder if that's going to be.
Yeah, but I mean, you can't really. That's one of those incalculables that I was talking about. You can't really tell that. But I mean, if the only measure of success would be if it trended hard in the positive direction.
But it's got to be, again, it's got to be. It can't just be these the fake trends, which is essentially what you can do. I mean, you could literally, I mean, if Zack Snyder's got the money, he could buy a farm in like a server farm in India or Pakistan and just have programmers litter social media with, Zack Snyder sequel hashtag, hashtag bring back Zack, I mean, it could be, I mean, it's so easily manipulated. I think it has to also be paired up with legitimate voices in entertainment, critics wise, to say, wow, this was such a, what a 180 from the last movie. It's a shame he's not going to be able to continue.
Can't really trust those either, though, a lot of times, because a lot of those voices will follow the trends. Like, if it's trending really well, people are like, well, obviously, Snyder has come out the other end of the dark time of his life, and given us the wonderful marvel that is his take on the Justice League, and yada yada yada. And obviously here, because like, how many articles do you see where they include tweets from random people as evidence that whatever they're saying is either trending positively or trending negatively. They're a celebrity. They're a full-fledged genuine journalists who talk about people getting owned on Twitter. The integrity of all these institutions are already compromised. But I mean, so not to dispute you, because I'm just saying it wouldn't really matter if they were fake. It would just really have to trend, Then look, if it trended well and everybody actually had good feelings about it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Really, I think,
you can't fake success, though. If everybody really hated it, yet it trended really positively, then there would be a huge backlash against the trend, because people are like, no, this is garbage, like everybody loved The Last Jedi. All the critics love The Last Jedi.
True.
You see exactly what happened with that, Now,
but that's again,
Jedi was a financial success.
But that goes two ways, right? So that there's like two components to what makes that successful, right? It made it successful because it, it was critically successful, but then you had the counter trending to make it unsuccessful. That's
what I mean. There will be a counter to the trend. So like to your theory of Zack Snyder,
there was outrage though with Last Jedi. I feel like
I'm saying, but to your point of him, like hiring a farm in Pakistan to positively trend his movie. If the movie is not well received, there will be a trend against the trend. No one's going to really get away with anything.
Yeah, no, you're right. Except to the point again where I think your Last Jedi analogy, while a good one, because it does kind of accurately reflect what we're talking about.
Analogies are good.
Well, they're not always. They're not flawless.
No, they're always good.
It's tough because
they're perfect.
Last Jedi actually suffered from a social media outrage
from existing.
From a philosophical outrage. I feel like with Zack Snyder's Snyder Cut, the only people, like, it's not as if you're trampling on sacred text, so to speak, with your Snyder Cut. In fact, I mean, no one liked the Whedon version. It's like if the Joss Whedon version was any good to begin with, I mean, we wouldn't even be having these conversations, right? So there's almost that. The floor is so low already, that
I am literally just humoring you because we haven't seen anything, and how I feel about being speculative about what something is going to do well and something is not going to do well. You know how I feel about that. So I am basically just humoring you in the space of this entire discussion.
Yeah.
Because I just really want to see the stupid thing. I don't really care about, it's going to be a cliffhanger or whatever. Okay, good. Then you know what? I hope it's a cliffhanger. I hope everybody loves it. I hope it's a cliffhanger, and I hope he refuses to make another one. Because now everybody will be angry at everybody. Everybody will get the blame for it. And that'll be wonderful because there's nothing like, angry people. They're fantastic. They're fun. I like angry people.
Yeah. Well, speaking of things that will get the outrage, and keeping in the DC spirit, you're talking about who will control the soul of the DC universe. Maybe it will be J.J. Abrams. Acclaimed essayist and novelist Ta-Nehisi Coates has been hired to pen. Ta-Nehisi?
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's not spell
Ta-Nehisi Coates.
Okay, Ta-Nehisi Coates has been hired to pen the script for a feature reboot of Superman that will be produced by J.J. Abrams. To be invited into the DC Extended Universe by Warner Brothers, DC Films, and Bad Robot is an honor, he said in a statement. I look forward to meaningfully adding to the legacy of America's most iconic mythic hero. Sources tell Boris Kitt and Aaron Couch the project is being set up as a Black Superman story. This is something the studio has been trying to wrap its head around for months, if not a year or two. Michael B. Jordan tried to develop a Black Superman project when he first arrived at the studio with his deal in 2019, but that did not go very far at the time. It is possible the studio could return to him to star down the line. What's your reaction to this?
I don't really have one. It's culturally important and this and that and the other thing, and it's also a hot button issue of a lot of controversy. It's going to cause a lot of bonfires and riots and destruction, death and misery all over the place. Also, so I mean, it just all depends on which position you want to take on it.
Yeah, I mean, there was an Elseworld.
I don't. I would probably use the get out of jail free card or the the free semantical dodge of saying it's not
backpack's not a parachute.
Yeah, I would say exactly. I would say it's not necessary. We don't need it, but then we don't need any art. I would
Sure.
be immediately destroyed by anybody who ever listened to any of my arguments in the past and tell me whenever I've said no art is needed, no art is necessary.
Right.
So look, it would be better, I think, if they made Icon instead of Superman.
Yeah. What if it's a Steel reboot this whole time? Get Shaq back.
Awesome. With Shaq. You got to do it with Shaq, though. It has to be Shaq.
There was
fantastic.
There was an Elseworld story. Dave Johnson, I know he did the covers. I don't know if he did the interior art. I believe it was Mark Miller. I'm not sure, but it was Communist Superman. So they basically said, well, what if he landed in
Russia,
Communist Russia,
Mother Russia,
and he became that. So I mean,
like
the concept of an alternate version Superman, to me, it's fascinating that this, to me, if it's, and this is going to sound completely biased in a weird way, right? If it's made for streaming, like HBO streaming, HBO Max streaming, or even the CW, it almost feels more like comics. So you can kind of just delve into these different things. It fascinates me that they're going to make a feature film about it, because a feature film to me is like the definitive take off a character. And so, like you said, it's a hot button. It's inflammatory just by its very nature in taking what has been a white character for 80, 90 years and recasting its race, and making that a key part of the story. Fascinating things you can, look, there's a lot of fascinating stories you can tell from this. But to make it a feature film, it makes it instantly, it takes away to me, it takes away what the story possibilities will be. It makes that the backseat to the quote unquote outrage that is going to be surfaced because of the racial recasting. Whereas if you do it as a streaming service thing, or you do it as a CW show, you can just kind of do it because people kind of just recognize the Elseworlds. I think people are more educated to what you can do on TV versus what you do when it's a feature film.
Yeah, like I said,
this backpack is not a parachute.
Yeah. Look, like I said, it's of great cultural significance. that's as deep and meaningful a statement as I'm willing to make about it right now.
I want to see what it has. I mean, who knows?
I think I heard about it, and my first thought was, "Oh, this is going to be so ugly." Like it's going to be such a brutal slugfest on this one.
Yeah.
And everybody's going to kind of get caught up in the middle because no one wants to come out against it. No one wants to come out and say, so.
Like, what if it's a really bad movie too? When you're watching, you go,
then there's that, and then on top of that, if it's a really bad movie.
But I'm not a racist. It's just not good.
Not necessarily. I mean, there'll be that aspect of you're a racist. This is a bad movie, and now you're a racist. There'll also be the element of, well, you see, that's why movies like this will never work, right? So, everybody was going to make a meal out of it. It's going to be a free for all of epic proportions going down the line, and I've said everything I'm prepared to say about it. I'll see it. I'm not
the funny part about it.
Really promise
he could write the script and they could try to do it, and they could just sit there and ultimately nothing comes of it, which has happened before.
There's also a very distinct possibility. The climate, the political climate could change drastically, and everybody, or like the COVID thing, could end on a dime. Like all of a sudden, like the trends are all gone. Everybody can come outside again, and then everybody's priorities will have changed all of a sudden. Anything can happen. So it doesn't necessarily mean it is going to happen. My personal take on it, like I said before, probably would be better if it was Icon.
It wouldn't have the same traction though, unfortunately, right?
But they could make that.
That's what I'm saying. Marvel does a great job of doing that, right? Like characters that the mainstream universe, the mainstream culture doesn't know. Like Captain Marvel, all of a sudden,
Warner Brothers doesn't know,
and it's like you could have asked people who Captain Marvel was 10 years ago, they would have been like, I don't know, Shazam? Like they wouldn't know, right? But Marvel does a great job of introducing characters. I mean, even Iron Man, when he first came out, was a B-level Marvel character at the time.
The DCEU does not know what they're doing. They don't know. They just do not understand the content that they have and the things they could do with it. And they're also going for the giant controversial stake in the heart. They're trying to make the big, the big headlines every move that they make without building up to any of it. I do think it's kind of sucks that we might get a Black Superman before we get a Miles Morales movie for real, like a real life Miles Morales, which is not replacing any white man, but it's not doing anything negative to before. You're
not getting a Miles Morales Spider-Man, not because they don't want to make it, but because Marvel takes its time with this kind of stuff. Don't forget, we should have been already through the first level of phase 4, which we'd see Shang-Chi come out this year, which hopefully we still do. Probably not when it's going to come out. It'll probably come out in December now or November, whatever the case is. You're going to get the third Spider-Man film, which is likely to set the table for the Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man, or maybe not. I mean, obviously we don't know, but we have, the Prowler was in the second Spider-Man. The Prowler was the uncle. So it's not that Marvel is like, we can't do a Black Spider-Man. It's okay. We're going to do Black Spider-Man. It's going to be great, but let's finish off this trilogy here. Let's do it. Let's do it when it makes sense. Let's roll it out in terms of story.
I didn't say it was never going to happen. I just
I know, but I'm saying to counter the thought of, meanwhile, you're going to get, DC just being like, it'd be great. Black Superman, do it. J.J. Abrams, king of the reboot, make it happen. And like you said, it's going to
And
be,
then, then again, it's also Abrams, like if you want to add another wrinkle to it, and it's like, whatever, man. It's the company of vapid, empty ideas. It really is. There's really not a lot of innovation coming out of that department, that sector of moviedom, so it's it is what it is. We'll see.
It'll be interesting to
if
see.
it's great. It's just like the Joker. It's a bad idea until you see it and you go, nah, now we have to figure out where it fits.
Right.
It was a bad idea until, like, why would you make a Joker movie?
Right.
While you still have, while you're trying to make a Justice, you can't even get a Justice League movie off the ground. You're trying to making a solo movie for the Joker. But then a Joker comes out, it does what it does, makes $1 billion. Now we all have to figure out where it goes, So who knows?
All right. Well, what do you guys think? Are you on board for a Zack Snyder sequel? What about a Zack Whedon sequel? Did I say sneakle? I just did. And what is your take on a potential Black Superman movie? Feel free to go in the comments and let us know what you think. If you're listening to this on podcast, you can always go to facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts, find this episode and comment away. We will comment throughout the week. Coming up next, we look back on the previous week's WandaVision and look ahead to the finale happening Friday. The director is a little bit nervous, and we think he might have reason to be a little bit nervous about the reaction when we come back.
Welcome to Button Stash, the show about the best mustaches in gaming.
Casey, it's Button Smash. It's the new gaming podcast from the Rogue Matter Network. I don't know where you got mustaches from.
Well, I'm not shaving. But we will talk about gaming news, reviews, inside scoops, and retrospectives.
Join us live on twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter on Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, or download our episodes wherever you listen to your podcast.
But please, Casey, shave.
Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Check out Button Smash. It's on the Rogue Matter Podcast Network. They stream live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/WeAreRogueMatter. All right. WandaVision is rounding the corner, Hassan. Another, you know what? I want to say another great episode, but it to me was maybe, I don't want to say the worst one. It was still solid in quality. It was an episode we needed to see in terms of why sitcoms played a huge role, and why this was, every episode up until this one was a sitcom kind of relived. It also kind of gave us the answer as to were they going to be able to do an episode around the 2010s sitcom era, which they weren't, or at least from what we could tell, at least by this episode, it broke the trend of it being a sitcom. So there likely will not be a 2010s sitcom rehash or homage, if you will.
You literally saw this episode that just went by and thought it was the worst of all the episodes that you've seen so far?
I thought it was the most necessary, but it was also because at this point, the only thing that I can remember from it was the ending, which, spoilers, if you didn't see the mid-credit scene, if you haven't seen episode 8 of WandaVision, we get White Vision at the end. That was it.
The most poignant thing that you got out of that episode is that we have White Vision.
Yes. No, not poignant. The thing that stuck in my head the most.
That's what poignancy is. So anyway,
I don't think poignancy has meaning, I think, to it.
Oh my God. Anyway,
You
are going completely against the trend.
I am,
because
they thought it was the best one. I know.
Everybody
I
adored that episode.
Yes.
So I don't understand where you're coming from with that.
Poignant, evoking a keen sense of sadness or regret. Sharp or pungent in taste or smell. How about that? No, yeah, no. Everyone kept messaging me. They're like, "Did you see WandaVision? Did you see WandaVision?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't wait to see it." And then I waited till the end of Friday to watch it. Usually, I watch it by Friday at lunch so that I can avoid any kind of spoilers, which I did manage to. But up until this point, up until the point that I actually watched it, though, while I avoided any spoilers from it, people were just messaging me like, "Oh, you got to see it, man! This episode is so good. It's so good." And I'm like, I watched it. I go, it was all right. It was good. We learned that she likes sitcoms as a kid. We learned that she was a witch as a kid, which I liked that. I like those elements to it. But I wasn't wowed by it.
It's the linchpin that put the entire season together.
Mm-hmm.
That pretty much explained everything in the entire season. It explained exactly what's been going on.
Yeah.
Explains that that Sword actually has Vision's body, that the Vision in WandaVision has been her creation, right?
Yeah.
That he lied about that, the fact that she came in and stole his body, that we thought that he was a walking corpse this entire time, and it wasn't that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's so much that was revealed in that.
Do you believe
everything.
that, though? I mean, do you believe that is actually what ended up happening? Because he has the video of her blasting through the door in a previous episode that he shows people, and that she came in.
But
and
then,
stole
how
the
would
body.
he have white vision if she took Vision? And why was he falling apart when he came out of the hex?
I guess so. All right, so then he didn't end up. So she ended up not stealing the
He
body.
kept the body. She left without the body. If you remember, she actually
but
left.
I figured she would just
rationally
left,
and then later had a breakdown, like an emotional breakdown,
right?
Which then created, I
mean, she created
everything.
Children out of thin air, also. So the idea that
because she's got the chaos power, according to Agatha.
Right. What I did like about the episode was it. When they were first introduced, because Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver are from the X-Men universe and the Avengers universe. It's a strange copy. It was a strange trademark copyright thing when they sold the rights to Fox to license the films. Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch could exist in both because they were both Avengers characters. They were originally introduced in Avengers, and they were X-Men characters. So, theoretically speaking, you could do an X-Men Quicksilver. Because he's tied to Magneto, but at the same time, you could do an Avengers Quicksilver because he was in Avengers. So it's interesting how that worked from a legal.
And they've retconned their origins,
Right.
So, and even the Magneto thing was a retcon, and now they've retconned the retcon. So,
right.
So who knows now? So
Well,
they've got the multiverse. So in some other universe, they are the children of Magneto, theoretically.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I just was overhyped by all the people messaging me, being like,
"You see how that happens?
The best one."
You see what happens with that?
Yes.
So that you can't actually determine things on your own. You can't assess things, and you can't emotionally connect with things on your own, because everybody is inundating you with shoulda, couldas, and wouldas, and about how great and wonderful this this particular thing is, that you have to be part of this trend, and you got to get in on it, and it's nonsense. And I can't tell you how many times I disagree with the trend or the group.
Yeah.
But I cannot tell you whether I disagree with them because I disagree with them, or I disagree with them because they built everything up so much that now whatever I watch couldn't possibly live up to it.
Yeah. I mean,
people have been talking about the new Superman that we were supposed to talk about, but we're not. People were talking about the new Superman and Lois, like monsters last week. Like this is one of the greatest depictions of Superman.
Yeah. And
you know what? It's not bad. It's good. But it's not living up to the hype that I've seen, 50,000 different tweets of how amazing, amaze balls this, Superman thing is.
Right.
And that, this is the way Superman should go. And, the Man of Steel was okay, but this is, and then you watch it and you're like, it's Superman again,
Yeah.
And that might be my lack of imagination.
Yeah.
Could be fine. But I'm sure the fact that no matter where I went, I couldn't get away from that trending. had
Right.
had a big something to do with my reaction to it.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate the speculation garbage. I really do.
Well, that does feed
Ding.
into the next part.
I walked you right
Although
into
before
that.
we get into that, though, what the director recently said, it could also be the fact that I just kind of know stuff already. Like, you know what I mean? Like there was the only thing obviously we didn't know was that the body wasn't stolen, right? Other than that, we know, or at least I know just from the comics, that it's all, Agatha Harkness and Scarlet Witch is, her mutant power is to tap into the forces of darkness, right? I mean,
we didn't truly know, though. It could have been a situation where Agatha and Wanda were working together, and then somewhere along the line, Wanda forgot that they were working together, or that Agatha was just there and she was either, she had powers of her own, but she was still caught up in the craziness of whatever Wanda. We didn't know exactly what was going on. That was a great thing about it. This television show isn't really innovative in the story that it's telling. It's innovative in the way that the story is conveyed. It's the formatting of how the information and the secrets are being delineated out to the audience, that actually, and the utilization of the weekly dropped episodes as opposed to a binge episode, because we would have been talking about this the first week it came out, and then we would have been talking about something else after that.
Yep.
So I understand it. I don't like it because we've been sold on these streaming services as a rapid fire method of getting all our content in one sitting, and then keeping us in charge of how often we're going to watch these things.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's fine. But when you get to the bottom of the story in and of itself, the story is no big deal. The story is also pretty much what everybody was speculating. Like when at the beginning of this whole thing, when you asked me who do I think was the villain, or who do I think was the person that made all this happen, I said it was Wanda. Right. I'm pretty sure the grief had made her semi crazy, semi cuckoo, and that she used her not unsubstantial abilities to create all this, right? But the way the show was rolled out, even if we knew the answer, it was still rolled out in a manner that kept us engaged.
Exactly.
So that's a masterclass on how to do that, to tell a simple story in an engaging way, as opposed to telling an engaging story in a simple way. Yeah.
Well, with the finale fast approaching, and it comes to sky high pressure to deliver on the overabundance of fan theories that have been generated over the last 8 episodes, it's nearly impossible that it will satisfy all viewers. Just ask the teams behind Lost and Game of Thrones, for starters, which is why WandaVision director Matt Shakman is already bracing for fan disappointment. In an interview with Entertainment Weekly previewing the finale, Shakman says he expects many fans will be disappointed by how some fan theories pan out or don't, but hopes the ending feels consistent with the series as a whole. I hope that they feel the journey was satisfying for them, Shakman said when asked what he hopes viewers will take away. I know there are so many theories out there. There will be a lot of people who will no doubt be disappointed by one theory or another, but we're always telling this story about Wanda dealing with grief and learning how to accept that loss. And hopefully people will find the finale surprising, but also satisfying, and it feels inevitable because it's the same story they've been watching the whole time. I think there's something to there was an episode of Corporate. I don't know if you ever watched that show on Comedy Central. Nope. It was from season 3. I do recommend it, by the way. It's a fantastic show. And they had,
I don't watch anything you recommend.
The evil corporation that they work for bought the Game of Thrones production, and we're going to redo the finale because the finale did not live up to the up to the
expectations of the people.
And they all got together in a room, and they're like, no, this is how it's supposed to end. And every character got up and would look into the sunset, knowing that they ended it the way it was supposed to end, except there'd always be one person in the room being like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It should not end like that. And then they would go and it was a big whiteboard. And then meanwhile, I had the side adventure of one of the main characters, kind of talking about all this, stuff of how it can't live up to it. I'm not really concerned about it. I think as long as you don't feel cheated or robbed, whether or not it's Mephisto or it's Doctor Strange or Spider-Man, Miles Morales comes swinging at the end to save it. It doesn't matter so much as long as you don't feel cheated by the way it ends. People felt cheated with Game of Thrones because what they watched in that last season was different in terms of execution, not what happens, but how it happened. It was different than what had come before 7 seasons prior. They never gave Daenerys enough time for the viewer, at least, to feel as if, sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen it yet, to feel as if she was going to go mad. But all of the seeds were there. And to your point, you always said, like, well, they didn't have anything to adapt. And it might be true, but one way or the other, what they put out there was different than the previous 6 or 7 seasons that came before it. In terms of it just didn't feel right. It felt different. All of a sudden you could travel from Westeros, all the way across to you could travel to different places in Westeros in lightning speed, whereas it was an entire season to get there in previous seasons. It's what happens in a lot of these vampire and zombie shows as well too, where the zombies are a threat until you've grown tired of seeing them so much, and the writers have grown tired of using them as a foil to the fact that it used to take a long time to stake a vampire. Vampires were hard to kill till all of a sudden it's like, oh, vampire, stake through the heart, zombie, up to the head. And all of a sudden you don't, the threat is not what it used to be. And that's where that's where things happen. So I think as long as WandaVision, ends in a way that doesn't feel that it cheats you out of what you've watched to this point, to the director's, to what the director has actually gone on record as saying, I don't think it's going to suffer from it. I do agree with you. Yes. I hope I'm making sure to watch it at lunchtime on Friday. I'm going to avoid all spoilers for the duration of the day. I'm hoping that no one messages me and says, "Oh my God, you got to watch it." Because I did get one saying, "I'm not spoiling anything for you, but you got to watch the end credit scene." And I'm like, oh, so it has an end credit scene. So,
that is obnoxious because of course you will. I mean, anybody's going to talk to you. It's like, oh, you got to watch the whole thing. It's like, yeah, I usually just turn things off halfway through the first time I've seen them, So you do have to warn me in order to get me to watch the entire thing.
It's the pot smoker in college, right?
It's just that they want to talk to you about it and they want to urge you to go ahead and engage so that they can actually talk to you about it. It's kind of selfish.
It is, but it's also there's always that one guy or girl they're just so into pot in college. There was always one, and they're like, you got to try this, man. It's just the most amazing thing. It feels great. And it's because they are feeling so good about it that they want to engage with you, kind of like what you said, right? So it's not like a selfish thing. It ends up being a selfish thing, but it's like they're just really excited to smoke pot, and they want you to experience what they're experiencing. So I don't begrudge anybody.
I don't respond to the pot analogy, but all right, I get you.
Oh well, there was always one guy. Maybe because I went to a hippie school, who knows? But definitely there was
always art school, dude.
I know
it wasn't pot. Nobody was using pot.
In art school?
They were way past pot by the time we got to art school. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Maybe I was harmless with the gateway drug analogy. Who knows? But maybe
people had already graduated.
Maybe you had a more intense art
people
school.
Had already graduated the pot train by the time we got to college.
All right, so maybe it was all right. In high school, it's the same thing too, though, right? Like senior year of high school, there was always like, oh my God, you haven't tried this amazing thing.
Yeah, high school that trend fits better in high school than college.
I still got it in college too because I'm not a real big pot guy. So, but yeah, no, it's again, it's the idea that they are so excited about something and what it has done for them that they want you to experience the same kind of positivity. And by doing so, they actually take it away. So all that being said, it's Mephisto, right?
Sure. It is absolutely Mephisto. And C-3PO.
What do you guys think? Give us your fan theories. Give us your what you think is going to end up happening. White Vision. We didn't really even talk much about White Vision. I love that in this day and age, it's called White Vision.
I want a vision. White Vision. A vision of my own. White Vision.
He is White Vision,
I want a vision.
which I think is funny. We got Black Superman and we got White Vision. If there's a crossover happening, that'd be. There you go, DC.
That's the next show. Black Superman, White Vision. That's next year.
I just blew your mind. Coming up next, Hassan's Rogue Rage. He might just rage about this entire segment we just had. I don't know. I don't know what's coming. That's the beauty of it. Hassan's Rogue Rage coming up next. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. Join the movement. Go Rogue, roguematter.com. Again, Hallmark Prologue is available now on roguematter.com. It's free. Go read it. If you like assassin stories, John Wick, Punisher, Making Markham was the tale of how he became Markham. Hallmark follows him in his later years. It's a bloody good time. Check it out. All right. We do this every week. All the rage in the pop culture world, brought to you by the Lord of the Radio, Hassan Godwin. Hassan Godwin's Rogue Rage. Go.
So you're gonna watch Godzilla versus Kong? Are you into that at all? You got any plans of that? Are you more excited about that than you are about the Snyder cut?
The Zack Whedon cut?
Are you more excited about? Okay.
I'm more excited about the Zack Whedon cut. To be honest with you, the trailers for Godzilla vs. Kong look so much fun, and so I'm super thrilled to be sitting at home watching it.
There is an ongoing rumor that is a little, probably more than a rumor, right? And we're gonna because it's not utterly substantiated, so we're just gonna consider it a rumor, even though it's probably more substantial than a rumor. But that Mechagodzilla is in Godzilla vs. Kong. Now, let me ask a question. It's a stupid question, but I'm gonna ask the question anyway. Do you know what Mechagodzilla is? Just for the uninitiated.
No, I do not.
You do so. You're not a Godzilla fan?
I mean, I like it. I don't know. I'm not a huge Godzilla guy.
So you don't know Mechagodzilla at all?
I know of Mechagodzilla.
All right. Anyway, so the rumor is that Mechagodzilla is in the film. Huh?
Educate me. That's what we got you here for.
Mechagodzilla is basically the Terminator version of Godzilla.
Okay. Who created it?
It's a machine with the Godzilla skin on top of it that, depending on whichever era of Toho that you're watching, is either an alien design or a human design trying to take out Godzilla.
Okay.
Sometimes Godzilla is a bad guy and you need a big robot to try to stop Godzilla. And then sometimes Godzilla is a hero, and then the people are trying to frame Godzilla for being bad Godzilla. So they make a giant robot that looks exactly like Godzilla, and then he goes around and destroys the city, and they're like, hey, Godzilla's a bad guy. Let's just drop a bomb on him. And then he's like, hey, that wasn't me. That's not right.
The cutout of a wolf that you put on fields so that birds won't go on it. It's like let's make a cutout of Godzilla.
It's exactly like that. You have it exactly. You've got a keen intellect as usual. So anyway, there is the rumor because they went out of their way in the last two movies, Godzilla and Godzilla King of All Monsters, right? The last two movies. They went out of their way to make Godzilla the hero of those two movies. One of the marketing scams for the first Godzilla movie in 2014, I believe, was that it was going to, Godzilla, he's here to attack, and Kick-Ass has to run away from him because Godzilla is going to probably nuke the town or whatever. It's actually Wanda and Kick-Ass are both in the original movie.
They're allowed to be in all three, right?
Yes.
They're allowed to be in all three.
No.
It's illegal. It's a legal thing. Legal loophole.
So basically, when you get to the movie, you would discover, wait a minute, Godzilla's the good guy, and
Yeah.
that the monsters that everyone's running away from with some trailer trickery were two other monsters, and Godzilla was there to stop them. And so they continue that trend in Godzilla King of the Monsters. The monsters are all freaking out for some reason and running all over the place. Godzilla had to show up and lay his thing down.
Okay.
Take over.
He's going to be in this movie after they've already set up.
Well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
He's a good guy. And then in the trailers for the movie, they're showing that Godzilla is freaked out for some reason. He's nuking towns and cities and killing people and, eating babies. And so everyone's like, well, what's wrong with Godzilla?
Yeah.
We need King Kong to stop Godzilla.
Yeah.
The theory, of course, that this is not Godzilla. This is obviously Mecha Godzilla. And then eventually Kong and Godzilla are going to team up and they're going to beat the crap out of Mecha Godzilla. And that's how the film is going to end. And then, Godzilla fans are happy. Kong fans are happy. Yep. Nobody's fighting. No knife fights in the middle of the parking lot in the movie theaters and stuff like that. Everybody's going to be fine.
And robots are easy to hate. We don't like robots.
Right? Well, no. As I said, C-3PO, who was a friend of the show, he would differ with
really
that. Yes, he's a friend of the show.
Okay.
Well, he's my friend, and I'm on the show, so he's a friend of the show. That's it's officiated.
Yeah.
All your friends are my friends. All my friends are your friends. That's how this thing works.
Anyway, I'm fair with that. I didn't know we had him.
What do you think about Mechagodzilla being in the new movie?
I like it. Anything that can,
even though you don't know who Mechagodzilla is,
anything that will give us the satisfying ending of King Kong and Godzilla teaming up to stop something, which is what I ultimately think is going to happen. It's just such a pretty trailer. And it looks cool, and like
what I require from that is that they actually tap each other in. That would be that.
Now, are we talking
probably
like
the greatest Hollywood movie ever?
Top, like
no, you guys
fist on top, or are we going boom,
wrestling?
Or are we going tap?
It's up to you. However, as long as they do the tap, it's fine.
I want to see them do the fists on top of each other. Like that's
okay. You have specifics. You have preferences. I just need them to tap in and tap out. That's all I need.
All right.
Thanks for helping.
We are gonna cover that film for sure. Because
that's good to know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll watch it then.
March 25th, I want to say.
Yes. I want to say that too. Even though I'm not going to look it up.
We will definitely do that. What else? What other rage? What else has you raged?
That was 90% of the rage that I thought we were going to be able to spark up the discussion, but you were just being distracted the entire time and not coming with me on that. So
I'm not distracted.
So my other piece of rage is I was going to talk about the Black Superman thing, but we already covered that. That was one of the things I was in, but you stole that topic from me. So
you didn't tell me you get. Cover that though.
You didn't tell me you were going to cover it.
I didn't. You know what the funny part was? I had totally missed it. We were going to talk Ray Fisher, but then I realized he mentioned Black Superman, and so I said,
"So you stole my topic."
I forgot all about Black Superman. What was your take on Black Superman?
I already gave you my take on that.
No,
you gave
a get out of jail free card that you don't want to talk about.
That's right.
you literally
nice try though.
You gave the
That's a good try.
Take to it.
I don't think no one should have a take on it.
Because it has
no one should have a take on it.
Yeah, because it hasn't happened yet.
Because it has not come into existence yet. They can have a take on the idea, and as I said, it's a controversial idea.
Yeah.
It's a big step.
You know who won't be cast as Black Superman?
It's an inside joke. Probably anybody white.
Ray Fisher. Ray Fisher will not be cast.
Wow.
Well,
right.
Am I wrong? Wouldn't that be ultimately amazing if he ultimately was cast as Black Superman and all that?
I don't know if the word amazing is the one I would use for that, but it would be something. It would be substantial.
Like what a turn of events he's got on bad.
Yes, you can honestly say that. Like, what a difference a week makes, right?
Yeah.
But okay,
that would be extraordinary, actually, right? Like that would just blow people's minds. I feel like
it's blowing my mind right now.
That was Hassan's Rogue Rage. All the rage in the pop culture world. Coming up next, we've got Jordan Elizabeth Gelber, Content and Consequences host. She will be joining us next to talk about the new podcast and a few other things she's got going on. when we return. Welcome back to the Rogue Wave podcast, the frequency for all things pop culture and the disruptors behind it. We have a disruptor with us. We have a rogue with us. We have the most recent brand new host of the Rogue Matter podcast, Content and Consequences, award-winning producer Jordan Gelber. How you doing?
I am good. I love that intro. I'm like a rogue now, so I feel
That's
cool.
right. That's right. Basically everybody who comes on, I call them a rogue. Just because.
Oh, great. I felt special for like a hot minute, but I'll leave that alone. That's fine.
No, they should all feel special. In fact,
I feel so special.
Everyone should, because they're all rogues when they come on our show.
All the rogues.
You're actually an even greater rogue, though, because you are joining the Rogue Matter family with Content and Consequences, which is launching this Sunday, March 7th, 8 p.m., right here on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts, and then available on all major podcasting apps. Tell the folks out there, what is Content and Consequences?
Oh, wow. Content and Consequences is a podcast that kind of gets into the nitty gritty of content creation from both sides, whether you're in front of the camera or behind the camera. Last year, when everything went on pause and content creation kind of went on pause, we decided to really dive in on the things that we both loved about content creation and hated about content creation. So Content and Consequences was really talking about all the different hiccups that I've come up with and my guests have encountered during our production times, between like funding and cameras and making random equipment and people canceling last minute, and just kind of understanding the steps that it takes between I have a great idea, I want to make some piece of content, whether it's like some social media based content or a YouTube channel or a web series or a film, and going from step A to my project is completed. It was really, really great because, the big problem with last year putting everything on hold is that safety became a huge consequence of creating content in 2020. And so we decided to talk about, well, there's more to just that. And I love the podcast because I really wanted to speak to my peers and not just about all the great, amazing things that happen, but really just talk about like, if you have a successful project, we're just like you and me. It's not a matter of like, oh, I had $1 million. Some people are successful on just thousands of dollars. I met a guy the other day that made a great project on $45, and now Martin Scorsese hired him for something. So I'm like, all right, what am I doing wrong?
You're not meeting Martin Scorsese. That's the problem.
Apparently. Yeah.
So give our audience a little background into the kind of content you have created, and then talk about, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but who this podcast is really geared toward.
Great. So Content and Consequences, saying that alliteration is going to really bother me. I'm going to flub my lines.
You're CNC. You're the CNC factory.
I'm CNC factory.
Not the music factory.
Yes. I mean, I could have my own theme song. We don't know. But yeah, Content and Consequences, it's really targeted to, I would say, aspiring filmmakers, aspiring content creators. I think content creators is such a lax term now. There's so many different people under that umbrella. But also, established content creators. I think a lot of us really missed community. And that's one thing we really were lacking as well last year, was the fact that we couldn't go to events. We couldn't meet people. Facebook groups get really oversaturated. And I love Clubhouse. Clubhouse has changed my life because I got to just have conversations with people. And that's one thing I really missed. So we made the podcast before, Clubhouse really became big. So it was great to just have someone to have a conversation with, to really inspire people. I wanted to create something that was solely about educating, informing, and inspiring people that are in my peer space, because I feel like we all need a little bit of support. And I think a great way to do that is just listen to conversations about people that, feel the same way and have questions. And it's not, a lot of the times we think like, oh, I just need to have this huge budget, or, oh, I need to know Martin Scorsese. That it's really about just giving yourself the permission to say yes. And what was your aha moment? What was your moment where you're like, hey, screw it, I want to do what I want to do. And in terms of, it's a great transition to talk about like what I did last year. Obviously I made a podcast last year, so that was cool. And, the great thing about obstacles and not being able to do things is you are able to overcome them in weird ways. So because we couldn't be on set, me and my guest host for the first few episodes is
go even further back. You keep mentioning on set. So talk about
So on set, my whole life. I'll just give you my life story. No, so I've been in the entertainment industry for about 17 years now. I've been acting professionally since I was in high school, and I started making content for the longest time. And I always knew that I wanted to get into producing or become an entrepreneur in the space. So I was really passionate the entire time, especially when I moved to New York for college, was to really understand about what was happening. So I've always been making content since I understood like YouTube came out. Like when YouTube came out, that was such like a breakthrough moment for me. I wanted to understand how people were becoming successful because, we remember the time where YouTube was new and it helped make MySpace music a thing. And now, and now it's transitioned to like YouTube was like a trendsetter and MySpace is no longer, but we have all these other ways that people are constantly making names for themselves by creating their own content versus just, going to the grind, following the gatekeepers, as I like to say. Like as an actor, I disrupt the system. If I want a job, I don't wait for the audition to find me. I go pitch myself directly to the executive producer and the casting director. So when I got into film production in 2015, I started producing music videos. So I had a band that I was really good friends with, and I was like, let me make your music video. And that was a great way to start. I'm a metalhead, so I got to do a metal music video. So that was dope. And that kind of just spiraled into, over the last few years, I've made short films. I've made on shoestring budgets. I've made feature films. I've worked on all different kinds of sets. But I think if someone were to say what is my favorite kind of content to create or be a part of, or video production be a part of, I really love web series, which is such a taboo term. I hate saying that, but digital series is really where it's at for me. I think there's a lot to be said about creating your own show. And not only that, I think that because of the boom of social media and just the internet being insanely accessible and all these new micro networks coming out, it's that you can make your whole anthology like in like a short period of time. I mean, my phone shoots on 4K. If I wanted to shoot a web series this weekend, I could do that. If I wanted to, do a few different like 1-minute segments, that in itself could be a series. So I think the fact that the terminologies have changed, the accessibility has changed, quality really comes into the eye of the beholder and the quality of storytelling. And it's been able to really provide a lot of awesome opportunities. So for me, I've been really passionate about streaming television and the fact that I, with one of the shows I represent, which my co-host, the lovely Victoria Cherie Bennett, she has her own show, which just got rebranded Geek Play Love. And we took that show with her to Seoul, Korea. And we got to see how around the world that whole movement of series is like a thing. Like it's a big thing. They shoot on drones, they shoot on high-end cameras. And here we're wondering like, can I fit this weird, DSLR and shoot it and put it up on YouTube? And these guys are doing like drone shots. So it was cool to see how storytelling in like a chapter setting has really impacted the world, and it's just coming to the United States. And so for me, that's what I've been really marinating in the last few years.
That's awesome. Talk to us about some of the guests that you do have coming on.
Yeah, so we have some really cool guests. I really cherry picked some people that I've been really inspired by. I would say, and then before I get started, I just want to say one thing. Like the thing that really inspired me more than anything about Content and Consequences was I was really inspired by Franklin J. Leonard from The Blacklist. And the fact that he had this great podcast called The Blacklist Table Reads, where he would read these scripts that came to him, and he would get like name talent and they would read it and you would listen to it. And it was a really great experience. Reminded me of like Prairie Home Companion and NPR and stuff. And I wanted to, and he also would do these like accompaniment pieces about talking about the story, how it happened, how it was written. And that was all about filmmaking, but there was nothing about series. So that's why, I made it. So in terms of the guests that we have coming on for this season, we have the lovely Adrienne Lovett, who is a female director, filmmaker, amazing actress. She's a series regular on Better Call Saul and a whole bunch of other projects. She was in Joker. She's on there. We also have Brando Crawford, who probably to me is one of the most influential people that I met last year. He created Acting for a Cause. So in the midst of quarantine, he created Zoom play readings where he got young Hollywood to come, and it was raising a lot of funds for his charity Acting for a Cause. And he had like Florence Pugh in some of them. He had a lot of the cast members from 13 Reasons Why. He had like I think Nat Wolf or Alex Wolf. He had Margaret Qualley. He had a whole bunch of big names. Like Young Hollywood showed up for him, and I was and like Brandon Thomas Lee, which I found Brandon Thomas Lee through that project, and I had Brandon Thomas Lee on a reading that I produced last year. So just watching people create stuff, Brando was such an influential person to me. And so he's in the podcast because I had to have him on because I think that everyone should find out what he's been up to. He's based in Chicago. Also, my good friend Cody Wilson, who's a filmmaker and a veteran from all over the world, but he's basically from Virginia, but he's currently holed up in Louisiana. He talks about filmmaking and how he got involved in from going from being a veteran and transitioning and becoming like not only a filmmaker, but like really avid storyteller. And who else we have? Richard Corgan from Stack, which is a self-tape coaching studio in London. He's amazing. He's a great actor as well. He's also a director. I have a bunch of great guests. I'm probably missing a few, which I'm sure I am, but I think
that's pretty good. I think you got a good roundup.
Yeah, we got people.
So we talk about the perils of making content, and Hassan, I know you can rap about that for many hours as well too. I mean, the actual process itself can be grueling and daunting. But what was one outside of maybe COVID, let's say, it could be COVID based, but maybe not COVID itself, like the safety aspect of catching it. One consequence that one of these guests might have, that kind of stood out to you that one of these guests might have mentioned on one of the episodes.
I think I think everyone kind of touched upon this, but the one that really stood out was the conversation of money and the conversation of bringing in good team members. I think a lot of us sometimes we try so hard to like hire all of our friends, but people sometimes cancel last minute if they don't feel like it's like a big deal. And that goes hand in hand with money. If there's not a lot of money to invest in the project, people don't normally stay. But also people get lost in the sense that they have to raise all this money to make something happen, where you can just start very, very small. And I think one thing that we all resonated with was that it wasn't a matter of lack of resources, but lack of resourcefulness. So how do you utilize your resources and a limited budget to make something amazing? Like I had people that told me like they had an actor that canceled like the day before the shoot. I had people that told me like the camera that they wanted didn't work. The director like backed out. Like and I think location was also like a big deal. It's just things that you wouldn't think of. Like you're on set, you think you have everything. Oh, I have the cast, or oh, I have the director. Or, oh, I have a red camera, which for some reason one year everyone wanted to shoot on a red camera. But sometimes you're on set and you're like, do we have enough food? Are we doing enough hours? Did people budget for marketing and editing? I think that to me, and as a marketing expert, I am so paranoid when it comes to having a marketing budget because of the fact, excuse me, I lose my voice, everything I've been going through last month, black mold. Anyway, so to me, the biggest thing was that people didn't budgeted for all the fancy shiny balls, but they forgot to budget for what happens after. And that has always been a sore spot for people. I mean, I'm lucky because the fact that people forget that is why, Star Baby Enterprises, my company, is a thing, because we help people with that stuff because they forget. They're like, oh, I got this great director. I'm like, did you figure out how to put it up on Facebook maybe? And like, maybe should we do an ad, or do you have a website?
Right.
But yeah, people forget that what happens after. They think about only the production, and they never really realize like, oh, maybe I should have had that couple $1,000 budget, which I could have saved on maybe shooting on an iPhone or shooting on finding a director who had great gear. I could have applied to finding a great editor who would make it look fantastic. Or I could have applied towards Facebook ads. Like, we had an issue last year. We worked on a project that was really passionate about having a crowdfunding campaign happen at the same time we were shooting. And one of the issues that they came up with was that they just didn't time it right. They didn't know, because they focused on like, oh, well, we'll have this great thing and all the actors will market it. But it was dealing with politics, and a lot of the actors at the time when they got cast, had not seen the script, so they didn't feel comfortable marketing it. So then what do you do? Or last year, we shot the
SOL.
Project. Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. SOL. And then at the same time, like equipment, like last year we were supposed to film on set in South Carolina. Instead, we transitioned to doing something on Zoom. Well, that's a new consequence. Like, how are you supposed to prepare for when everything shuts down? So that's just like something very COVID related, but gear is an issue. Things break, things cost money. Sometimes you can't get a location. And the big kind of thing that solved that problem of not being prepared was building strong relationships. Because if you make strong relationships, especially local communities, like I'm really passionate about working with local film commissioners because of this. But if you work with like the local communities, you can get a lot out. So for example, you can get really great locations. If you talk to just great, they would love the visibility, and that's also cross collaborative effort for you. If you found like a director, if the like, what is the problem? Oh, I want a really great director. Okay, well, make the relationship. Be honest. I think, you know, people forget, they lead with the flash. They don't lead with the authenticity. And that always, in my opinion, is just something that just falls apart for people. So it was cool to kind of hear everyone's perspective on that.
Great.
I had another one, but I forget.
Well, you have a busy week ahead of you. You got Content and Consequences launching in March 7th, but you've also got a South by Southwest virtual
Boot
panel
camp
going on. What's going on with that?
So, last year, my big hobby was learning how to master LinkedIn and YouTube. And in my ventures of diving into the LinkedIn paradox, I met this great woman, Mara McCann, who's a fellow actress and producer. And she also is like so passionate about LinkedIn. So we came together, and she was telling me she started creating this webinar that she wanted to invite me to be a part of, and this other great producer and filmmaker, Ramphis Myrthel, to come in and do this thing called Showbiz Connection. So we started creating a webinar and educating filmmakers and entertainment professionals. And that could be also actors, but it's pretty much everyone behind the camera, from writers, directors, cameramen, etc., to maximize LinkedIn to get in the room in the meetings that they want. I mean, in the last few months, I've had meetings with distribution people from Comcast, from Lucky Chap Entertainment, and also because now Clubhouse, so we briefly also talked about Clubhouse. I met a lot of executive producers that I found them in Clubhouse, and I followed up with them on LinkedIn. LinkedIn, to me, is like the final frontier when it comes to social media, because it's an entertainment platform. And one thing that we always discuss is that you can control your narrative with social media, but a lot of people, like, again, with the flash and the entertainment, a lot of platforms like Facebook and Instagram have become very flashy. It's about what you can pretend like you're doing or showcase that you're doing, not what you've actually accomplished. And on LinkedIn, it's a professional platform. It's like a professional dating profile, I like to say. You know, you can connect to those big names, and you can find out who those people are. Like, I'm not going to scour through IMDb anymore to find out who the talent acquisition specialist is for some of these networks I want to work with. Instead, I could just go on LinkedIn. I could find the company, and I could start looking at that person, seeing if they're available, and like ask for a meeting. And also the engagement possibilities on LinkedIn are huge. So with our webinar, it became really successful. We decided to have an event around South by Southwest because everyone's working remotely. So we have an upcoming event on the 13th of March, which is next Saturday, called Secret Success Survival. It's a South by Southwest Showbiz boot camp. It's on a brand new platform called Filmocracy that came out last year, which is my new favorite thing. It's an interactive kind of Sims floor plans. Have you ever played Sims or was on Habbo Hotel in like the 2000s? It looks like a map and has a bunch of different virtual buildings, and you can go to the different buildings and see screenings, and different film festivals have been using it. AFM did their whole virtual film festival or their whole event last year on it. It's all interactive, and it solves a problem with what I saw on a lot of other platforms last year, which is you don't have to be on Zoom. Everything's on this platform. You can do video conferencing, you can network. So we have this great event happening. Throughout the day, we have like, I think 5 speakers, including Afuru Flowers, who is an amazing sales and distribution agent, because we wanted to talk about all the different issues that people have come to us with. So distribution, investments, networking, outreach, how to present yourself more professionally, how to make your stuff prepared for it. I'll be speaking and talking about social media and Clubhouse and networking and content creation. Ramphis is going to be there. He's an executive producer. He's really amazing, and he knows everything about like he has like the skinny on like what's going on in the different networks. What are they looking for with the funding? Mara McCann, who's the business strategist about LinkedIn. And then last is one of my other new favorite people, Justin Giddings, who is a crowdfunding expert. He has a 97% success rate on crowdfunding, helping people make their films. So it's awesome. We have a nice little thing, and we have a virtual party on a yacht at the end of the day. So it'll be chock full of fun and networking and just talking to people. It goes back to what I said before, people miss having conversations.
I'll bring my beach Zoom background.
Yeah, do that. Have a nice beach Zoom background. Yeah, I want to see it.
Jordan, tell everyone where they can find you online.
Excellent. So you can find me. My handle on all things is at Jordy_Starbaby. That's JORDIE_Starbaby, which is STARBABY. My company is Starbaby Enterprises. You can find that at starbabyenterprises.com. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on LinkedIn. Find me at Jordan Gelber on LinkedIn, where I'll be sharing all the launches of Content and Consequences, which I'm super stoked about. And the event on the 13th is, you can go to showbizconnection.com and find more information, and I'll make sure to share it with Michael.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Cool.
That is our show for the evening. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Next week, all about the Wandavision season finale. Did all of Hassan's fan theories come to pass, and was he disappointed in the end? He's just always disappointed with me I like to poke the bear a little bit. I can't help it.
You lean into it, so don't worry about it.
We will see you guys next week.
Rogue Wave.